To people who aren't aware, there's a location in the Western Sahara Desert of Mauritania called the Richat structure. It's also commonly referred to as the Eye of the Sahara. And what's so spectacular about this is that it just so happens to match more than a dozen striking similarities to what Plato had described as the lost ancient capital city of Atlantis.
Have you ever heard of the Eye of the Sahara? Officially known as the Richat structure, this geological wonder is something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Because archaeologists roll their eyes every time you say the word Atlantis. But that is precisely the date that Plato gives for the destruction of Atlantis.
Picture this. A giant, almost circular dome sprawling 40 kilometers across the Sahara. So massive it's visible from space, but it's not just its size that's mind-blowing. The Richat structure's beauty lies in its complexity, especially its mesmerizing concentric rings. These rings aren't your regular circles. They're like fingerprints, each one unique in width, composition, and how time and the elements have worn them down. It's as if nature itself was playing architect, crafting a masterpiece over millions of years through erosion.
It is a site that most people have never seen or heard of before, which is truly peculiar because it's so spectacular.
Wind and water have sculpted this dome layer by layer, revealing a range of rings that tell a story of resilience and transformation. Now let's delve into what makes up this stunning structure.
And what I'm focusing on is the lost capital city, which was said to be made up of concentric circles, 3 of water, 2 of land, which matches the Richat structure.
The outermost rings boast Proterozoic quartzite, a rock so tough and ancient it's been around for over 600 million years. Imagine that. Quartzite starts off as sandstone and undergoes a metamorphosis with heat and pressure, emerging as this incredibly hard rock. Move inward, and the materials shift to softer, sedimentary rocks like limestone, which forms in marine environments, and sandstone, composed of tiny mineral grains. At the heart of the Richat structure, there's a fascinating mix called siliceous breccia, essentially a jumble of angular rock fragments bonded together, often found in volcanic areas or places with a lot of geological action. The Richat structure is not just a feast for the eyes, it's a geologist's dream. The variety of rock types and the formation's history offer a rare glimpse into the Earth's geological processes. When you dive into the origins of the Richat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara, you're essentially unpacking a geological mystery that's been in the making for millions of years. At the heart of this mystery is the uplifted dome theory, which geologists lean towards when explaining how this stunning feature came to be. Imagine the Earth's crust getting a gentle nudge from below, creating a bulge on the surface. Over eons, wind and water went to work on this dome, chiseling away at it. But here's the catch, not all rocks are made the same. Some are tougher, others are softer, so they didn't all erode at the same pace. This selective erosion crafted the Richat structure's iconic concentric rings, each layer telling a story of resilience and time. But wait, there's a twist in the tale thanks to Jimmy Corsetti.
The question becomes, is it big enough to be a city with possibly millions of people? Because the way it was described is that it was a city that was said to be busy all day, all night, rich in trade, with languages spoken from all over.
He floats a rather intriguing idea that maybe, just maybe, ancient humans had a hand in sculpting the Richat structure. While this leans more towards speculation, it's a fascinating thought that adds a pinch of mystery to an already captivating story. Now let's talk about the Sahara Desert, the Richat structure's vast, arid home. This desert environment, with its relentless wind erosion, has been a key player in shaping the structure. But remember, the Sahara wasn't always a desert.
And what people don't realize is that Sahara Africa, up until about 4,500 to 5,000 years ago, was totally green.
It has seen its fair share of climatic roller coasters over millions of years, each phase leaving its mark on the rate and style of erosion at the site. The rocks at the Richat structure are ancient historians, some dating back over 600 million years, offering a glimpse into the Earth's early days, continental drifts, and the dawn of life. The creation of the Richat structure wasn't an overnight affair. It was a marathon of geological activity, from the shifting of tectonic plates to the whims of climate change, all contributing to the structure's unique appearance. erosion played the role of the sculptor, methodically revealing the different layers of rock beneath. One of the most striking aspects of the Richat structure is its near-perfect circular pattern, a feature so distinctive that astronauts use it as a space landmark.
Even if you went to Mauritania, so you could see this from space, astronauts use it as a locator, and they weren't really familiar or aware of it until the Gemini missions in the early 1960s.
It's a mesmerizing pattern that stands out in the vastness of the Sahara. Plato's tales of Atlantis nestled within his dialogues Timaeus and Critias really do spark the imagination, don't they? Written in the 4th century BC, at a time when Athens was basking in its golden era of philosophy and culture, Plato wasn't just any philosopher. He was a master of exploring deep concepts about society, ethics, and the nature of reality itself. Through these dialogues, it's like he's engaging in a spirited chat, using his characters to weave through various ideas and viewpoints. Then there's Atlantis, this mythical island city that Plato claimed existed beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we commonly associate with the Strait of Gibraltar today. He didn't hold back on the details, portraying Atlantis as a gargantuan landmass, outstripping the size of Libya and Asia put together. The description of its layout is nothing short of fascinating, featuring a series of concentric rings of land and sea that would have required an extraordinary feat of engineering to construct, with its elaborate canals and bridges. At the core of Atlantis was its fertile central plain, a farmer's dream, encircled by towering mountains that offered both a wealth of resources and a natural fortress. But the allure of Atlantis extended beyond its geography. Plato painted a picture of a city flush with resources and technological prowess, boasting an abundance of metals like the enigmatic orichalcum, alongside gold and silver. The infrastructure was ahead of its time, complete with sophisticated water systems, majestic temples, grand palaces, and bustling docks. Yet Atlantis was more than its physical attributes. Plato envisioned a society with a rich tapestry of laws, traditions, and governance, underpinned by a formidable military might. However, as the narrative unfolds, Atlantis transitions from a utopian exemplar to a cautionary tale of corruption and decline, ultimately leading to its downfall. This story, layered with intricate details and moral undertones, continues to captivate and fuel the imagination, a testament to Plato's enduring legacy. While there's a resemblance to Plato's Atlantis, the geographical settings throw us for a loop. The Richat structure sits in the heart of the Sahara, far from the Atlantic Ocean, where Atlantis was said to be.
But another little detail that most people aren't aware of, because they think of Atlantis like, oh, it must be at the bottom of the ocean. Well, that's not exactly how Plato worded it. Like, a lot of people see the Sahara Desert, and they don't realize that this place was unbelievably different than it is today.
This discrepancy hasn't stopped theorists from suggesting that perhaps the Sahara's landscape was vastly different in the past, possibly even near water, or more hospitable than today's arid expanse. The Eye of the Sahara isn't just a geological wonder, it's a treasure trove of archaeological finds that shed light on ancient human life. Stone tools scattered around the area, including arrowheads, scrapers, and axes, tell tales of hunting and crafting. Pottery fragments whisper secrets of domestic life, indicating a significant leap in cultural and technological evolution. But it's the remnants of potential permanent settlements that really pique our curiosity, suggesting that this wasn't merely a waypoint for nomads, but a home for a settled community. The rock art adorning cliff faces and cave interiors near the Richat structure is nothing short of mesmerizing. These paintings and engravings, featuring animals like antelopes and elephants, transport us to a time when the Sahara thrived with life. Human figures and abstract designs depicted in these artworks offer glimpses into the social, cultural, and possibly spiritual lives of these ancient peoples. The rock art adorning cliff faces and cave interiors near the Richat structure is nothing short of mesmerizing. These archaeological discoveries are not just remnants of a bygone era, they're pieces of a puzzle that help us piece together the story of human existence and evolution in the Sahara. They speak of adaptation and resilience in the face of climatic shifts that transformed a once lush region into the vast desert we see today. The prospect of permanent settlements, while still under investigation, opens new chapters in the story of African prehistory, enriching our understanding of early human societies on this diverse continent. It's a testament to the power of the past, and how even the smallest clues can illuminate the vast tapestry of human history.
It'll mean a journey of 1,200 miles over rock and sand, by vehicle, camel and on foot, and it's a dangerous journey. They call it the land of fear. It takes its name from the Arabic word for emptiness, Al-Sahara.
The vast area that was submerged during the end of the Ice Age has never been studied by archaeology at all. And they're not in a position to say that they know that there's no possibility of a lost civilization during the Ice Age, while they haven't investigated those 27 million square kilometers that are now underwater, when they haven't investigated the Sahara Desert.
When we think of the Sahara Desert, we think of endless sand. But what really lays beneath all the sand? The Sahara Desert, it's like a time machine preserving the ancient history of Earth under all that sand. The Nubian civilization, flourishing in what's now Sudan and southern Egypt, is an incredible chapter of history that's often not as highlighted as it should be. This civilization, which stretched from around 2000 BCE all the way to 350 CE, shows us just how advanced and rich in culture, architecture and politics an ancient society could be. Imagine a civilization that lasted over 2 millennia, peaking during various periods like the Kingdom of Kerma, the Napatan period, and the Meroitic period. Nubia was strategically located along the Nile River, stretching from the first cataract in southern Egypt to the sixth cataract in central Sudan. This prime location along the Nile was not just for show. It played a huge role in establishing Nubia as a powerhouse of trade and economic activity. They were known for their abundant gold mines, which pretty much made them the go-to spot for luxury items like ivory, incense, and ebony. These goods were highly sought after in both sub-Saharan Africa and the Mediterranean world, making Nubia a crucial hub in ancient trade networks.
In fact, that was one of the main arguments that the archaeological police used to try to dismiss John West and Robert Schoch. They said, show us another culture that's 12,000 years old anywhere in the world, and we might listen to you. But we know that there is no culture capable of creating anything like the Sphinx until 4,500 years ago. Therefore, of course, the Sphinx is 4,500 years ago. But of course, that changed completely with Göbekli Tepe, which is a deliberately buried site, deliberately buried 11,600 years ago.
Now let's talk about Nubia's relationship with ancient Egypt. It was nothing short of complex and fascinating. The interactions ranged from trade and cultural exchanges to outright warfare and conquests. There were times when Nubian pharaohs actually ruled over Egypt, especially during the 25th dynasty. This period is a testament to Nubia's strength and influence in the region. The kingdoms of Nubia, nestled along the Nile in what's now Sudan and southern Egypt, really tell us a story of an incredibly rich history, full of architectural wonders. Let's take a closer look at what made these kingdoms so remarkable. Starting with Kerma, dating way back to around 2500–1500 BCE, it's fascinating to think this was the first centralized state in Nubia. It was more than just a political hub. Its strategic location on the Nile made it a hotbed for trade. The architecture here was quite unique too, with large mud brick structures called defufas. Their purpose? Well, that's still something of a mystery. Were they temples, palaces, or something else? And let's not forget the artistry in their pottery and crafts, especially the black-topped red ware and their work with ivory and gold. Then there's Napata, around 1300 BCE, which really left its mark as a cultural and religious center. This is where Nubia began to exert its influence over Egypt, especially during the 25th dynasty. Think about the Temple of Amun in Napata. It wasn't just a religious site, but a pivotal spot influencing Nubian culture and politics. And the royal burials of this time, with pyramids at sites like El Kuru and Nuri, show just how much Egyptian culture influenced them. Fast forward to around 300 BCE, 350 CE, and we see the capital shifting from Napata to Meroe. This move wasn't just geographical. It signified a shift in political and cultural power too. Meroe was a hub for the arts and industry, known especially for its iron industry and the development of the Meroitic script, an early African written language outside of the Egyptian hieroglyphic system.
Part of the problem is that very ancient structures thousands of years older than archaeologists suppose, may be hiding in plain view, surrounded by other younger structures. And the best example of that really is the Great Sphinx of Giza, and these two temples in front of it. This temple is a New Kingdom temple, much later even than the accepted date of the Sphinx, which is about 4,500 years ago. But the Sphinx and these two temples are deeply anomalous.
Now let's talk about the architectural marvels of Nubia, the pyramids. Yes, Nubia had over 200 pyramids, mostly concentrated at places like El Kuru, Nuri, and Meroe. These weren't like the Egyptian pyramids we often think of. They were smaller, with steeper sides, and often featured elaborate carvings and hieroglyphics. These pyramids were royal tombs, and the burial chambers beneath them were often richly decorated. These pyramid complexes, part of larger royal cemeteries, included mortuary temples and chapels, showing a deep belief in the afterlife. The Garamantes civilization, centered in what's now southwestern Libya's Fezzan region, is a real eye-opener about how advanced ancient societies were, especially in such challenging environments like the Sahara. This area, known for its oasis environments, was crucial for sustaining life, and the Garamantes were pretty ingenious in adapting to these harsh conditions. So picture this. From around 500 BCE to 700 CE, the Garamantes were at their peak. This wasn't just a flash in the pan, it was a long period of development and stability. They were ahead of their time in agricultural techniques, urban planning, and establishing far-reaching trade networks. It's like they were the ancient masters of making the desert work for them. Archaeological digs in the region have unearthed some pretty cool stuff. For starters, they found these elaborate tombs, which really say a lot about their beliefs in the afterlife, something many ancient civilizations had in common. The complexity and size of these tombs also tell us there was a social hierarchy with different levels of wealth and status. The goods buried with the deceased give us a peek into their cultural practices and beliefs. The ruins of Garamantian cities are something out of an ancient urban planner's dream. They had organized street layouts that show a high level of social organization and civil engineering skills. What's more impressive is their water management systems. In a place as dry as the Sahara, they managed to create reservoirs and irrigation systems, which were crucial for their survival and agricultural activities. Plus, they had defensive structures hinting that they were prepared for potential threats. Now let's talk trade. They found Roman coins in the excavation sites, which means the Garamantes had trade connections with the Roman Empire. Imagine the caravans going back and forth across the desert. They also found Egyptian amulets and items from sub-Saharan Africa, showing that their trade network was vast and varied. The diversity of goods found at these sites underscores their role as a major trading hub and their interactions with different cultures.
And weirdly, up there near Cuzco, we have this curious stonework, and we also have it at Alakahoyuk in Turkey. Exactly the same kind of thing. Is this a coincidence, or is there something going on behind the scenes of history that we've not been fully informed about yet? And oddly, these patterns, these T-shaped pillars that we see at Göbekli Tepe are repeated at the Temple of Edfu in Upper Egypt and also in Peru.
Now moving on. Tassili Najer in Algeria is truly one of those places that take you back in time, all the way to the early days of human civilization. Nestled in southeastern Algeria, right in the heart of the Sahara Desert, this area is a treasure trove of history. Picture this: vast sandstone formations, cliffs, deep valleys, and rock shelters. It's not just a stunning natural landscape. These features have been key in preserving some incredible prehistoric rock art. Now let's talk about this rock art. It's not just a few drawings here and there. We're talking about artwork that dates back to the Neolithic period, some as old as 12,000 years. Discovered by a French military expedition in the 1930s, these paintings give us a fascinating glimpse into the lives of the people who lived back then. You've got human figures, wild and domestic animals, and scenes that show everything from hunting and gathering to dancing and rituals. What's really interesting is how the art changes over time, starting with wild animals and hunting scenes and gradually moving to domesticated cattle and herding. It's like a visual story of how these ancient folks transitioned from hunting-gathering to pastoralism. But it's not just about the art. Archaeologists have found all sorts of tools and pottery in Tassili Najer. indicating that people have been living here for thousands of years. These artifacts range from simple stone tools used by hunter-gatherers to more sophisticated items linked to settled communities. It's amazing how much you can learn about past lifestyles and technological progress just by looking at these objects. Now let's not forget about preserving this incredible site. Tassili Najer was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1982, which is fantastic because it helps in getting the support needed for its preservation. But keeping this site in good shape isn't easy. The art is facing threats from natural erosion and potentially even climate change. Plus, there's the impact of tourism. Sure, tourism raises awareness and brings in funds for preservation, but it also means more people walking around these precious artworks. When you think of the Sahara Desert today, it's all about vast stretches of sand and scorching heat, right? But believe it or not, this wasn't always the case. There's a whole hidden history beneath those dunes, and it's been uncovered through the study of fossils and isotope analysis. So let's dive into this hidden past. The Sahara has turned up fossils of all sorts of aquatic life. We're talking fish, mollusks, and even plants. And these aren't just any old fossils. They're often in great condition, which is pretty wild considering they've been under the desert for ages. These fossils got preserved because they were quickly buried under sediments in ancient lakes and rivers, which kept them safe from decay. And the dating of these fossils? It goes back millions of years, painting a long history of environmental change in the Sahara. Now, these fossils tell us a lot about what the Sahara used to be like. Fish fossils suggest there were rivers and lakes around, while marine shells hint at the possibility of larger water bodies, maybe even shallow seas. Plus, the variety of species points to a time when the Sahara was home to rich and diverse ecosystems. But here's where it gets even more interesting. These fossils aren't just found in one spot, they're all over the Sahara, which means these water bodies were widespread. Satellite imagery and geological surveys have even mapped out ancient river systems that line up with where these fossils were found. And there's a lot of variation in the types and amounts of fossils in different areas, showing just how diverse the climate and environment were across the Sahara. Then there's isotope analysis, which is like a detective tool for figuring out past climates. By looking at the ratios of certain isotopes in sediment layers, scientists can work out past temperatures and rainfall. Higher ratios of oxygen-18, for example, usually mean more evaporation, pointing to warmer, drier periods. Carbon isotopes can tell us about the types of plants that were around, giving clues about how much rain there was. This isotope analysis has been super useful in understanding how the Sahara's climate has changed over time. It's shown variations in rainfall, helping to piece together the story of how the Sahara went from lush and green to the desert we know today. And it's not just about the Sahara. This data fits into the bigger picture of global climate events like ice ages. So, in a nutshell, the Sahara's past is a lot different than its present. Once a place with rivers, lakes, and a variety of life, it's now the iconic desert. But thanks to fossils and isotope analysis, we can glimpse its green past and understand the changes that led to its current state. It's a fascinating reminder of how much our planet can change over time.
This is quite a famous phenomenon in Turkey, that there are huge cities. They look like ant farms on an enormous scale that are dug out under the earth. Hundreds and hundreds of rooms. That huge efforts was put into digging deep beneath the earth and creating these shelters.
Nestled in the heart of Turkey's enchanting Cappadocia region lies Derinkuyu, an ancient underground city that stands as a monument to the ingenuity and resilience of bygone civilizations. Its fascinating origins, complex construction, and versatile uses offer a glimpse into a community that sought refuge beneath the Earth's surface, crafting a hidden world of remarkable depth and complexity.
And archaeology does not have a good explanation about what they're there for, or why they were built, or when they were built. They're all cut out of stone. You can only date objects that were left in them. You can't say when they were actually made.
The story of Derinkuyu begins in the 8th–7th centuries BCE, with the Phrygians, an Indo-European people renowned for their architectural skills, laying its foundation. What likely started as a modest subterranean enclave was expanded by successive cultures, each adding layers of depth and function to this architectural marvel. Notably, in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, early Christians seeking sanctuary from Roman persecution carved out additional living quarters, worship spaces, and communal areas.
They were used by Christians, they were used by Muslims, they were used back in 2,000 plus years ago as homes in some cases.
The construction of Derinkuyu was no small feat. It involved the excavation of approximately 2.5 million cubic meters of volcanic rock, known as tuff, which is soft enough to carve but hardens when exposed to air, ensuring stability for the city's expansive underground structures. Derinkuyu's purpose extended far beyond a mere hideout. It was a bastion during invasions and conflicts in the strategically significant region of Cappadocia.
What makes sense of those underground cities to me is that they were built as places of refuge that people could go into during an episode of meteor bombardment during the Younger Dryas.
Beyond serving as a refuge, it also offered a complete underground living environment with water wells, food storage, livestock pens, and even a prison.
They're fine. They have air vents, they have water, they're incredibly well thought out.
Its intricate layout supported a vibrant community life, with residential areas, communal kitchens, and places of worship, reflecting a society capable of sophisticated urban planning and social organization. The city's capacity to house up to 20,000 people, coupled with its advanced infrastructure, including an extensive ventilation system and a complex water distribution network, speaks volumes about the ancient world's architectural and engineering prowess.
I spent hours down there just wandering around and looking at this amazing place.
Of particular note is Derinkuyu's significance to early Christians, who found not just a safe haven, but a spiritual sanctuary within its depths. The numerous chapels and churches adorned with religious symbols and bas-reliefs provided a focal point for community and faith, underscoring the city's importance as a religious retreat. Derinkuyu, an underground world equivalent to an 18-story building below the Earth's surface. This ancient city, carved deep into the Earth to a depth of around 200 feet, provided a year-round comfortable living environment. Thanks to its cooler and more stable temperatures, it's fascinating to think about how it was designed to house up to 20,000 people, along with their livestock and possessions, showcasing an incredibly organized society, adept at managing life's necessities in such a confined yet complex space. With at least 18 levels, Derinkuyu was more than just a series of tunnels. It was a fully functioning underground metropolis. The city was meticulously organized into residential areas, communal spaces, and even sectors for livestock, indicating a society that valued structure and community. The intricate layout ensured that despite being underground, movement within the city was fluid. The city's innovative ventilation system is nothing short of remarkable. Thousands of shafts ensured that fresh air reached the deepest levels, a feat that underscores an advanced understanding of environmental control and airflow. This system was crucial for not only providing fresh air, but also for dispersing smoke from cooking and lighting, maintaining air quality for the large population residing within. But perhaps what stands out most about Derinkuyu are its defensive features. Massive stone doors could be rolled across passages to seal off the city, transforming it into a fortress at a moment's notice. The corridors, intentionally narrow, were designed to thwart large groups of invaders, allowing defenders to control movement throughout the city effectively. Moreover, the hidden entrances and exits, some connected to the surface by miles-long tunnels, speak volumes about the strategic planning that went into safeguarding the city. These secret passages allowed for stealthy entrances and exits, crucial for gathering intelligence or making escapes during sieges. Despite the extensive exploration that has peeled back some of its layers, Derinkuyu keeps parts of itself hidden, teasing the imagination with what lies in its uncharted depths. While we've uncovered much, there's still a vast expanse that remains out of reach. Safety concerns and the potential risk of collapse have kept certain sections off-limits, sparking a wildfire of speculation and theories about the full scale of this underground labyrinth. Could there be entire levels we've yet to discover, or hidden rooms filled with ancient artifacts waiting to tell their part of Derinkuyu's tale? The lore surrounding Derinkuyu and its sister cities in Cappadocia weaves a rich tapestry of tales that blur the lines between history and legend. Stories of a vast network of tunnels connecting the underground cities suggest a sophisticated system used for trade, communication, or even as escape routes from invaders.
The two that I visited in the series are Derinkuyu and Kaimakli. And these two sites are joined by an 8-kilometer tunnel underground.
While some of these tunnels have been confirmed, the full extent of this network fuels the imagination about the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Speculation about Derinkuyu's past ventures into the realms of the extraordinary, with some suggesting it might have been a refugee for extraterrestrial visitors or a remnant of a lost advanced civilization. Although such theories stretch beyond the bounds of established archaeological evidence, they underscore the fascination Derinkuyu incites, reflecting the human penchant for mystery and the unexplained. Derinkuyu is a hidden gem that tells a tale of human resilience, architectural mastery, and the intricate history of Anatolia. This ancient underground city, a sanctuary carved from the earth, speaks volumes about the lengths to which people will go to protect their beliefs, their culture, and their way of life. Imagine a time between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD when early Christians facing relentless persecution from the Roman Empire sought refuge beneath the earth's surface. Derinkuyu became their sanctuary, a place where they could practice their faith in secret away from the oppressive gaze of Roman authorities. Within this subterranean haven, they carved out chapels and churches, adorning them with frescoes that depicted scenes from the Bible and Christian iconography, creating a space that was not just about survival, but about preserving their spiritual and cultural identity. But Derinkuyu was not an isolated refuge, it was part of a vast network of underground cities in Cappadocia, connected by miles of tunnels. These connections weren't just for escape or hiding, they represented a sophisticated system for trade, communication, and strategic movement, highlighting an advanced level of social organization and urban planning in ancient Cappadocia. This network of cities underlines the region's significance as a cultural and economic hub, showcasing the ingenuity of its people in creating a cohesive and cooperative community. The modern rediscovery of Derinkuyu is as fascinating as its history. In 1963, a local stumbled upon a mysterious room behind a wall in his home, unveiling the entrance to this ancient city. This discovery captured the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and the wider public, leading to the exploration of the city and its eventual opening to tourists. Today, Derinkuyu is not just an archaeological site, it's a major tourist attraction that draws people from all over the world eager to explore its ancient passageways, chapels, and the incredible engineering behind its construction. Derinkuyu's significance has been recognized on a global scale, as it, along with other sites in the Cappadocia region, has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This honor speaks to its value to humanity, preserving its history and architecture for future generations. The city stands as a symbol of what humans are capable of achieving when faced with existential threats, creating safe havens of remarkable complexity and beauty. Beyond its historical and architectural value, Derinkuyu serves as an educational resource, offering insights into ancient construction techniques, community living, and survival strategies. It continues to inspire and educate, reminding us of the depths of human ingenuity and the enduring spirit of communities that have faced adversity throughout history.
This is one of the things that, the archaeologists and the prehistorians, people are looking at that, have failed to take into account. Now, within there could be all kinds of stuff that's not even recognized as being artificial in the sense that humans had anything to do with it.
Tucked away in the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza lies the King's Chamber, a marvel of ancient Egyptian architecture that continues to fascinate historians and visitors alike.
If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
Imagine walking through the Grand Gallery, a corridor stretching 47 meters long and rising 8.6 meters high to reach this iconic chamber. This journey alone, through such an expansive space within the solid stone of the pyramid, showcases the incredible skill of ancient Egyptian builders.
Now, Egyptologists will tell you that, they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet sand. Well, maybe if you're just at ground level, that will do. But when you're 350 feet above the ground, as you are in the King's Chamber, that won't do at all.
The king's chamber itself is a testament to the Egyptians' advanced understanding of materials and construction techniques. Carved from red granite brought all the way from Aswan, over 800 kilometers away, the chamber's very walls speak of a civilization capable of monumental feats of logistics and engineering. The room's dimensions, about 10.47 meters by 5.234 meters and 5.974 meters high, are thought to be imbued with symbolic meaning, perhaps aligning with celestial or pharaonic principles.
If we're only looking for a mere reflection of ourselves, we could overlook it completely. I think we're getting very close to rediscovering some of the things that our ancient ancestors were up to.
At the chamber's center lies a red granite sarcophagus, believed to be the intended resting place of Pharaoh Khufu, though intriguingly, no human remains have ever been discovered within it. The sarcophagus bears marks of damage and wear, silent witnesses to the millennia that have passed since its creation. Its very presence in the chamber, given its size, suggests it was placed there during the construction of the room, hinting at the meticulous planning that went into the pyramid's design. Above the chamber, an ingenious system of 5 relieving chambers helps distribute the weight of the pyramid, protecting the space below. This feature highlights the ancient builders' sophisticated understanding of structural integrity. Additionally, the chamber is equipped with 2 narrow shafts extending to the pyramid's exterior. Initially thought to be for ventilation, these shafts are now believed to possibly serve a more symbolic purpose, possibly aligning with stars or celestial phenomena significant to Khufu's journey in the afterlife. Step into the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and you'll find yourself in the Grand Gallery, an awe-inspiring testament to the ancient Egyptians' architectural genius.
I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology.
This corridor is not just a path to the king's chamber. It's a showcase of ancient ingenuity and a symbol of the civilization's advanced engineering capabilities. Imagine walking through this grand space, with walls that narrow as you look upwards, thanks to the sophisticated corbelling technique used in its construction. This method, where each layer of stone slightly overhangs the one below, creates a dramatic narrowing effect towards the ceiling. It's a clear sign of the Egyptians' mastery in using architecture not only for structural stability, but also to inspire awe. The materials themselves, limestone blocks for the walls and heavier stones for the ceiling, were chosen with care, ensuring the gallery could bear the immense weight of the pyramid above. The Grand Gallery served a crucial role as the gateway to the king's chamber, possibly designed to awe and inspire those who walked its length. But its purpose might have extended beyond mere access. Some scholars suggest it played a part in the pharaoh's funeral procession or other rituals connected to the afterlife journey. Features like the Great Step, a massive stone at the gallery's end, and various slots and holes along its walls hint at a space designed for more than simple passage, possibly aiding in the construction of the chamber. Moving on to another fascinating marvel of the pyramid, the Queen's Chamber. It holds mysteries that have puzzled scholars and enthusiasts for centuries. Despite its regal name, it's widely believed that this chamber was never intended as a final resting place for a queen. The lack of any burial artifacts and its distinctive features have sparked endless speculation about its true purpose. Positioned centrally within the pyramid, yet at a lower elevation compared to the majestic King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber offers its own unique allure. Imagine venturing about 20 meters above the ground level through a corridor extending from the Grand Gallery to discover this intriguing space. Its dimensions create an unexpectedly spacious environment, with a pointed roof reaching up towards the pyramid's core, adding to the chamber's grandeur. One of the chamber's most striking features is a large niche in the eastern wall. Standing about 4.6 meters high, this vertical recess has baffled many. Was it intended for a statue serving a symbolic or ritualistic purpose, or does it hold a deeper meaning related to the pharaoh's journey in the afterlife? The construction technique of the chamber's roof, using corbelled layers of stone that create an inverted V-shape, mirrors the design seen in the king's chamber, suggesting a deliberate architectural choice to ensure stability and perhaps to bear symbolic weight. Theories about the chamber's purpose are as varied as they are fascinating. Some suggest it was used for rituals related to the pharaoh's rebirth or regeneration, with the niche possibly housing a statue or symbolic object. Others propose that its location and design might reflect ancient Egyptian cosmological beliefs or serve a more mundane purpose, like distributing the pyramid's weight or housing a statue of the deceased in a serdab-like arrangement. Recent technological advances have opened new doors in understanding the Queen's chamber. Non-invasive techniques like infrared thermography and muon radiography have been employed to peek behind the chamber's walls, searching for unknown cavities or clues to its construction and purpose. Within the Great Pyramids lays another mystery. Its air shafts and the subterranean chamber, features as fascinating as they are puzzling. The air shafts, narrow corridors carved into the stone, stretch from the King's and Queen's chambers to the pyramid's exterior. These aren't your average architectural elements. Their design, discovery, and speculated purposes are a treasure trove of intrigue and speculation. First off, these air shafts are tiny, just about 20 by 20 centimeters, too narrow for any human to pass through. They zigzag with precision towards the heavens, pointing to specific regions in the sky that held great significance in ancient Egyptian cosmology. Discovered in 1872 by the engineer Wayman Dixon, the shafts from the Queen's chamber were a late find in the pyramid's history, adding layers to the mystery surrounding this ancient wonder. Originally thought to ventilate the chambers, this idea doesn't hold up for the Queen's chamber shafts, which don't quite reach the exterior. Instead, the prevailing theories are far more mystical. Some believe these shafts were aligned with stars or constellations like Orion and Sirius, linking the pharaoh with the gods of the afterlife. The intrigue doesn't end there. With modern tech, robotic cameras probe these shafts, uncovering doors and chambers within, deepening the mystery. What were these ancient engineers up to? The plot thickens with the subterranean chamber, a rough-hewn space carved into the bedrock. Unlike the finished elegance of the pyramid's upper chambers, this one's all raw edges and mystery, suggesting it was abandoned mid-construction. Was it intended as Khufu's original tomb, a symbolic underworld, or something more practical like a flood defense? Theories abound, but no one's quite cracked the code. This chamber's unfinished nature has led to all sorts of speculation about its purpose and why it was left incomplete. Imagine stumbling upon a hidden chamber within one of the world's oldest and most mysterious monuments. That's exactly what happened when scientists discovered the Big Void, a revelation that's as thrilling as it is mystifying. The key to uncovering the Big Void was muon radiography, a fancy term for a technique that uses naturally occurring particles called muons, which rain down from the Earth's atmosphere. These particles have the unique ability to penetrate solid stone, providing a way to peek inside the pyramid without drilling or causing damage. By detecting variations in muon density, scientists can identify empty spaces, like our newly found void. This discovery was the result of international teamwork, part of the Scan Pyramids project, which brought together experts from around the globe to explore the pyramid's innermost secrets. So, what do we know about the Big Void? Well, it's situated above the Grand Gallery, a known cavity within the pyramid, and stretches for at least 30 meters, roughly the length of the gallery below. Its size suggests it was a significant part of the pyramid's design, but its purpose remains a tantalizing mystery. Was it intended to relieve weight from the Grand Gallery below, a hidden chamber for ceremonies, or perhaps just an architectural quirk? The truth is, we're not quite sure yet. The discovery of the Big Void opens up new avenues for exploration and research. Scientists are now considering more advanced methods to study the void in detail, like drilling small holes to insert cameras, all without harming the pyramid's structure. This void could provide invaluable insights into how the ancient Egyptians built such monumental structures and why they included such spaces within the pyramid's design. Each new discovery within the Great Pyramid is a piece of the puzzle in understanding one of humanity's most remarkable achievements. The Big Void isn't just an empty space, it's a reminder of the mysteries still waiting to be solved and the stories of the past yet to be told.
But he found evidence of deliberate burial in a very complicated, difficult cave system which you can hardly access. The archaeological establishment descended on him like a ton of bricks and tried to find all kinds of reasons why it couldn't possibly be.
Did you know about the mysterious Osiris shaft hidden away on the Giza Plateau? This intriguing archaeological site, tucked away from the more famous Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, has a story that's slowly been coming to light over the years. While the big monuments grabbed all the early attention, The Osiris shaft waited quietly for its turn in the spotlight.
Would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a
Yes.
lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
It wasn't just another hole in the ground. This shaft held secrets of ancient Egyptian civilization and their religious practices that were only beginning to be uncovered. It's fascinating to think that this place was just sitting there, known since the late 19th century but not getting much love from explorers. They were all dazzled by the pyramids and Sphinx.
I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology.
But as it turns out, the Osiris shaft had its own tale to tell, one that required a bit of patience to fully appreciate. Enter the 1990s and things started to change. That's when Zahi Hawass, a name many of you might recognize, took the reins and decided it was time to give the Osiris shaft the attention it deserved. Under his guidance, a thorough exploration began, peeling back the layers of its complex architecture. What they found was a marvel, a glimpse into the depth of Egyptian religious thought and engineering prowess. But getting to the heart of the Osiris shaft wasn't a walk in the park. The team faced the massive challenge of pumping out water that had filled its lower levels, especially the third level that was partially underwater.
But what happened a few years ago, that the water began to rise in front of the Sphinx temple outside. Then I was really afraid that this water can damage the Sphinx.
Imagine the effort it took to bring in modern pumping equipment and clear out all that water just to access the deepest secrets of the shaft. Its 3 levels diving deep into the earth turned out to be a fascinating puzzle of architecture, burial customs, and hidden treasures. The first thing that caught their eyes was the shaft's design itself. It's a marvel of ancient engineering, with each level serving its own mysterious purpose. Down at the very bottom, a large stone sarcophagus sits in a chamber that's partly underwater, painting a vivid picture of the ancient Egyptian underworld right there beneath our feet. It's as if they built their own version of the afterlife hidden deep in the Giza plateau. But then there's the second level with its 6 empty burial shafts. Imagine the archaeologists' surprise finding them all vacant. It sparked so many questions. Were they plundered, or were they never meant to hold anything in the first place? This level offers a glimpse into the burial practices and rituals of the time, even if it leaves us guessing about some of the details. Despite the lack of inscriptions, a kind of ancient billboard that could have told us exactly who made this and when, the bits and pieces found throughout the shaft speak volumes. Pottery shards, fragments of stone vessels, and other small artifacts serve as breadcrumbs leading us back in time, suggesting that the Osiris shaft might hail from the New Kingdom period. It's like detective work, where every clue helps build a case for when this incredible structure came into being. But perhaps the most touching finds were the mummified remains tucked away in the smaller chambers around that central sarcophagus. It's one thing to study the grand monuments and temples, but it's another to come face to face with the people themselves. Analyzing these remains gives us a rare peek into the lives of those who once walked the streets of ancient Egypt, what they ate, how they lived, and maybe even how they died. Let's talk about Osiris for a moment. He's not your average deity, he's the ancient Egyptian god of the afterlife, death, and rebirth. The story goes that Osiris was betrayed by his brother Set, leading to a saga of death, dismemberment, and a resurrection that sounds like it came straight out of a blockbuster movie. His wife Isis put him back together and brought him back to life. Osiris's story is a cornerstone of Egyptian mythology, embodying the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And guess what? The Osiris shaft is like a 3-dimensional tribute to this epic tale. Down in the depths of the shaft, there's this chamber filled with water that's believed to represent the underworld. Imagine standing there in front of a large stone sarcophagus that's meant to symbolize Osiris's tomb. It's not just a tomb, it's a symbol of his journey through death and his role as the ruler of the afterlife. But why build such a place? Well, one theory is that the Osiris shaft was a venue for initiation rites. Think of it as a spiritual boot camp where participants would undergo trials, symbolizing death and rebirth, much like Osiris did. These rites weren't just for show. They were believed to impart secret knowledge and bring about a spiritual transformation in the initiates. Some even speculate that the shaft's design was guided by the stars, aligning with celestial bodies that the ancient Egyptians associated with Osiris and the afterlife. It's as if the shaft was a bridge between Earth and the heavens, a physical representation of the soul's journey after death. What's truly fascinating is how the physical structure of the Osiris shaft and the artifacts found within echo the ancient texts like the Pyramid texts and the Book of the Dead. These texts offer a glimpse into the Egyptian view of the afterlife, complete with references to water, boats, and, yes, the significance of sarcophagi. It's like the shaft is a stone-bound version of these ancient scrolls, a tangible connection to the beliefs and rituals of a civilization long gone. Buried deep within the limestone bedrock, the Osiris shaft, it's a three-level maze that masterfully blends practicality with a touch of the mystical. Let's dive into what makes the architecture and structure of the Osiris shaft so fascinating. First off, the way this shaft was designed and built is nothing short of amazing. It shows just how advanced the ancient Egyptians were in their planning and building techniques. The precision with which they carved out these chambers from the bedrock really makes you wonder about their deep understanding of the earth beneath them. At the entrance, you're greeted by a rectangular opening that starts your descent into the depths. This isn't just a hole in the ground, it's a carefully carved vertical shaft dropping down about 10 meters. Imagine the effort it took to remove all that limestone, using tools made from harder stones and metals, and even ropes and wooden scaffolding. It's a testament to their engineering skills. The first chamber you hit is pretty modest. No flashy decorations or treasures, but its simplicity might have been the point. It's like a waiting room or a space for getting ready for something more profound down below, maybe even for some kind of purification rites. But the real intrigue starts when you go deeper to the second level. Here, there's another shaft leading down another 20 meters, and this chamber is a bit more complex. These shafts could have been meant for actual burials, or perhaps as a representation of the journey to the afterlife. The third level is where things get even more dramatic. You go down another shaft, and this time you're 30 meters below the surface. Here lies a large stone sarcophagus, right in the center of the chamber. This isn't just a burial place, it's a symbolic representation of Osiris's tomb. The fact that this chamber is partially filled with water from the natural aquifer adds to the mystique, tying it to themes of rebirth and purification in Egyptian mythology. Graham Hancock is a name that often sparks lively discussions whenever ancient civilizations are mentioned.
There are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology. Sure. For somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them.
Known for his captivating books like Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods, Hancock is no stranger to controversy, especially with his theories that challenge the mainstream archaeological narrative. Today, let's dive into how Hancock's unconventional ideas might shed new light on the mysterious Osiris shaft.
They fell there, something like that.
All of them?
Yeah, all
Over
of them.
many
and
years?
somehow buried themselves under the topsoil.
At the core of Hancock's theories is the tantalizing notion of a lost advanced civilization. This isn't just any civilization, but one that supposedly predates all known history, equipped with knowledge in astronomy, architecture, and mathematics that far exceeds what we'd expect from our ancient ancestors. Hancock might say the Osiris shaft, with its intricate design and possible astronomical alignments, serves as a kind of time capsule from this sophisticated society. Could it be that this ancient marvel is much older than we think, or that it was built with wisdom handed down from this enigmatic civilization? Hancock's fascination doesn't stop at architecture. He's also keenly interested in how these ancient structures align with the stars. While he hasn't specifically pinpointed the Osiris shaft in his star maps, it's easy to imagine it fitting neatly into his grand scheme of things. Could the shaft's orientation hint at a connection to celestial events or constellations tied to Osiris and the themes of death and rebirth? Hancock's work suggests that many of Egypt's ancient monuments are part of a larger cosmic blueprint, and the Osiris shaft might just be another piece of that puzzle. One of the more dramatic elements of Hancock's theories involves global cataclysms, particularly those caused by comet impacts around 12,800 to 11,600 years ago, during what's known as the Younger Dryas. He proposes that these catastrophic events could have wiped out the advanced civilization he theorizes about. So, when we look at the water filling the lower levels of the Osiris shaft, Hancock might see it as more than just groundwater seepage. He could interpret it as a deliberate nod to the ancient deluges, a symbol of the world-altering floods that his hypothesized civilization endured. Do you think there have been multiple ancient cataclysms?
By all accounts, we are looking, if we take what's still under the ground into account, we're looking at the largest megalithic site that's ever been created on Earth.
Göbekli Tepe is a site that truly boggles the mind, taking us back over 11,000 years to a time when prehistoric peoples demonstrated remarkable capabilities that challenge our understanding of early human civilization.
The sudden appearance, 7,000 years before Stonehenge, of a megalithic site that dwarfs Stonehenge, to me that's a mystery, and it's really worth inquiring into.
Imagine this. Massive stone pillars, each carved from limestone using nothing more than simple stone tools. It's a task that would require not just considerable skill, but a collective effort from a group of people who had yet to discover the wheel or metal tools. These pillars weren't just any stones, they were shaped into T-forms, a design that's unique to Göbekli Tepe, standing up to 5.5 meters tall and weighing up to 20 tons.
One of the many ways that Göbekli Tepe, I think, is going to prove to be a game changer is it's going to require us to reconsider our whole dating sequence on megalithic sites around the world.
The effort to transport and erect these massive stones without modern technology is nothing short of astonishing. Using levers, ropes, and wooden sledges, the people of Göbekli Tepe managed to move these enormous stones over considerable distances, a testament to their ingenuity and teamwork. This wasn't a small feat, it required a high level of social organization and cooperation, suggesting that this community was far from the nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers we often imagine.
So why did archaeologists tell us for so long hunter-gatherers couldn't do it, and we needed agricultural populations that could generate surpluses that could pay for the specialists
that was the theory.
Instead, they were capable of complex planning and communal effort, likely driven by shared beliefs and common goals. The technological innovation and architectural planning evident in Göbekli Tepe's construction are truly ahead of their time. The precision in the carving and erection of the pillars, along with the thoughtful layout of the site, show an advanced understanding of stone masonry and basic engineering principles. This sophistication challenges the simplistic view we often have of prehistoric societies, revealing a people capable of complex thought and remarkable feats of engineering. When you dive into the story of Göbekli Tepe, you're not just exploring ancient ruins, you're stepping into a world where prehistoric peoples pulled off engineering marvels that would be daunting even by today's standards. Picture this, a community back in the 10th millennium BCE without access to metal tools, the wheel, or any form of animal labor, decides to build something extraordinary. They set their sights on massive limestone pillars, each one towering over 5 meters high and weighing around 10 tons. And they decide to quarry, shape, transport, and erect these giants using nothing but stone hammers, wooden tools, and sheer human will. It's a scenario that might make a modern engineer blink twice. These ancient builders leveraged ingenious methods, likely rolling these colossal stones over logs or dragging them on sleds made from tree trunks, all coordinated by what must have been an incredible communal effort. Just imagine the sight, hundreds of people coming together, each one playing a part in this monumental task. It wasn't just about physical strength, it required a high degree of planning, coordination, and social organization, suggesting that these early communities were far more complex than we often give them credit for. And let's talk about the layout of Göbekli Tepe. It wasn't a haphazard arrangement of stones.
Göbekli Tepe is a bit more nuanced. You know, we have stone circles, we have some interesting astronomical alignments, the world's first perfectly north-south aligned building.
These T-shaped pillars were carefully positioned to form circular enclosures, a testament to the builders' advanced planning and knowledge of stonemasonry. They understood the properties of limestone, knew how to quarry large blocks and shape them with precision. The placement of each pillar was intentional, reflecting a deep understanding of geometry and structural engineering. Göbekli Tepe is like a time capsule that's slowly revealing its secrets to us, and among its most captivating mysteries are the potential astronomical alignments hidden within its ancient stone circles. Imagine standing among these massive pillars over 10,000 years ago, looking up at the night sky. Some researchers think that the people who built Göbekli Tepe did more than just admire the stars. They aligned their monumental structures with them. The idea that these ancient builders could align their creations with constellations like Sirius or Orion, or mark the solstices and equinoxes, is mind-blowing. It suggests they were not just master builders, but also early astronomers, tracking the heavens with an accuracy that challenges our assumptions about prehistoric peoples. This possibility opens up all sorts of fascinating questions about how and why they did this. If the alignments at Göbekli Tepe were intentional, it could mean that these ancient builders had their own form of astronomical observation, maybe even a basic calendar system. Göbekli Tepe and the lack of evidence for permanent settlement presents a fascinating glimpse into the spiritual life of people over 11,000 years ago. This site, rather than serving as a home or village, appears to have been a significant ceremonial or pilgrimage destination. The absence of typical domestic remains, such as extensive cooking hearths or trash pits that would indicate long-term habitation, suggests that Göbekli Tepe was not a place where people lived year-round. Instead, it was likely visited by various groups for specific purposes, possibly related to religious or spiritual practices. This realization points to a level of social complexity and spiritual or religious depth that predates the advent of agriculture and settled life, challenging the conventional sequence of societal development. The stone pillars of Göbekli Tepe, carved with an impressive array of reliefs and symbols, are among the earliest known examples of narrative art, offering profound insights into the prehistoric mind. These carvings feature a diverse menagerie of animals: foxes, lions, bulls, snakes, wild boars, and birds, each meticulously rendered, suggesting a deep reverence or symbolic significance attached to these creatures. The presence of such carvings indicates not only advanced artistic skills and aesthetic sensibilities, but also suggests these animals held particular meanings for the people who created them. They could represent clan totems, spiritual guides, or mythological stories central to the community's beliefs and rituals. Moreover, the humanoid figures, some of which appear to be depicted wearing animal skins, hint at early forms of shamanistic practices, or the veneration of deities or priests donned in ceremonial garb. These figures could represent intermediaries between the physical world and the spiritual realm, playing crucial roles in the rituals and ceremonies conducted at the site. The abstract symbols found alongside the more representational carvings add another layer of complexity to our understanding of Göbekli Tepe's spiritual significance. These symbols could be early attempts at encoding sacred knowledge, marking significant events, or conveying complex concepts related to cosmology, theology, or social order. The carvings on Göbekli Tepe's pillars, therefore, are not merely decorative, but are deeply imbued with meaning, serving as a tangible connection to the beliefs, rituals, and cosmologies of prehistoric peoples. They provide a window into a world where spirituality was expressed through the medium of stone, and where the natural and supernatural realms were closely intertwined. The story of Göbekli Tepe is like something out of a movie, an ancient site buried under tons of soil and debris around 8000 BCE, only to be rediscovered and shake up everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. This wasn't just a case of a lost city getting swallowed up by the sands of time. It was an intentional act, a massive project that likely took as much effort and organization as the construction of the site itself. Why would a society go through such lengths to bury this place? The theories are as fascinating as they are varied, ranging from ritualistic closure to a strategic move for preservation against natural disasters or even invasions. But here's the kicker. Göbekli Tepe turns the Neolithic Revolution's narrative on its head. The common story is that agriculture kick-started the rise of complex societies and monumental architecture.
The idea that we come across that another turn of the spade reveals information that causes us to reconsider not just was it hunter-gatherers or agriculturalists, but perhaps something bigger than this is involved.
Yet here we have an elaborate complex built by hunter-gatherers long before farming took hold. It suggests that the impulse to gather for religious or ceremonial reasons might have been a driving force behind settling down and forming communities. This discovery forces us to rethink not just the timeline of human history, but the very factors that drive societal development. Göbekli Tepe shows us that hunter-gatherer societies were capable of a level of organization, cooperation, and spiritual expression that we usually only attribute to settled farming communities. It hints at a world where shared beliefs and rituals were the glue that held societies together. potentially paving the way for the transition to a sedentary lifestyle.